Hello everyone. Today we are going to start the chapter How, When, and Where in your history book. Let's start. History is a study of past events and it is much more than memorizing dates. In this lesson, we'll learn how did it happen, when did it happen, and where did it happen. Children, dates in history are like the skeletal system without which the body would be shapeless. So, a collection of historical facts would be one meaningless heap unless the events were arranged in the sequence of the dates of occurrence. So, dates of events act somewhat like milestones. They indicate an event's position in relation to other events in history. This helps us understand the trends of developments within a time frame. Some dates and events act as landmarks because of their long term impacts. For example, the year 1526 is a landmark in Indian history, not only because this is when the first battle of Panipat was fought, more importantly, it marks the end of the Delhi Sultanate and the beginning of the Mughal Empire in India. So, the importance of dates depends on the aspect from which history is studied. For example, political history deals with rulers, administrations, wars, etc. Social history, economic history, cultural history, and religious history deal with social, economic, cultural, and religious developments, respectively. So, within a time frame, some dates record events in the lives of rulers, including birth, accession, war, administrative actions, and death. So, these are significant for political historians. Historians studying other aspects find other dates and events within that same time period most significant. For instance, while studying Akbar's reign, a political historian would be more interested in dates which record the ruler's military achievements and administrative actions. Other historians studying the same period would be more interested in dates which record, say, the foundation of the city of Fatehpur Sikri by Akbar. Right? If we talk about the meaning of history, history is about changes that occur over a period of time, right? So it is finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed. So historians basically what they have done for simplifying things, they have divided history into broad time periods on the basis of some distinctive characteristics. This is called periodization. So, periodization is basically to simplify the study of history and it is to highlight the important trends of development within a particular period, right? Now, history is referred to as a span of time. We cannot determine a specific date when British rule was started, as it happened over a span of time, because it might not have happened on one particular day or on one fine day. Similarly, the case with taste of drinking tea. People did not develop the taste for drinking tea all of a sudden or one fine day. They developed it over a period of time, right? And we talk about this thing furthermore, we find past versus present state of history. Earlier history was associated with string of dates. This was because history used to keep a track of battles and big events. At present, history is a wider concept which includes how and what concepts. For example, how people earn their livelihood, what did they produce and eat, etc. Now, what is the criteria to select a set of dates? Date becomes important, we discussed in the beginning also, when we assume that a particular set of events are important. Most of the history in India was written by British historians, and these historians started writing with the rule of first Governor General Warren Hastings and ended with the last Viceroy Lord Mountbatten. Now, we just now, short while ago, we discussed what is periodization. So, let me repeat, historians actually divide the history into broad time periods on the basis of some distinctive characteristics. That is what is known as periodization. So, it is to simplify the study of history and highlight the important trends of development within a particular period. So, in 1817, a scholar named James Mill wrote the first history of India that covered all periods. He divided Indian history into three broad periods on the basis of religion. He called the ancient period Hindu period because most of India was then under the Hindu rulers. Likewise, he called the medieval period Muslim period and the modern period the British or the Christian period. Right. So after independence, Indian historians discarded this religion-based division as developments in the multi-religious country like India are influenced by several factors and not merely by the religion of the rulers. So the Indian historians chose to divide India's history into the ancient, medieval and modern periods on the basis of important political, economic, social and cultural changes. So such an approach broadens the range of history from the study of merely the lives and achievements of rulers to the study of the lives and experiences of much larger number of people, right? So this periodization was by James Mill was uh, not very comprehensive, right? And as we just now discussed, that Indian history classification has been done into three parts: ancient, medieval and modern history. If we talk about the term modern period, ref, uh, it refers to the recent times. So the modern period did not begin simultaneously in all parts of the world. It began first in Europe around the 15th century AD. It came to be characterized by the features such as expansion of trade, industrialization, urbanization, swift transport and communication, widespread literacy, democratic political system based on ideas like liberty and equality, and large scale migration of people in search of new occupations. So modernization led to rapid progress in Europe. In India, modern period begins much later, around the mid 18th century. Now, modern period changed to colonial. Modernization created a growing need for various kinds of goods and resources in Europe. Some European countries explored other parts of the world and established trade settlements at many places. So, gradually, they established political control over large areas around their trade settlements. So, they used the resources of these areas to fulfill their own political, military, and economic needs. So, this process came to be called colonization. Like the British coming to India, started making use of our resources. So, this process of subjugation of one country by another country leads to political, economic, social, and cultural changes. So, this process is known as colonization. So, the subjugated area becomes a colony. The area that is controlled by another country becomes a colony, whereby it lost its political sovereignty and control over its own resources. So, a colonizing country used the resources of its colonies to promote its own modernization. But in the colonies, it introduced modernization only in certain spheres and only to the extent that suited its own interest. So such partial modernization benefited only a small sections of the people in the colonies. Generally, for the rest of the people in the colonies, colonial rule created conditions of poverty, disparity, and discrimination. Right? Now, before we move to the next section, let us just discuss this point a little more. See, India becomes a colony. The Mughal Empire declined rapidly after Aurangzeb's death in 1707. Many independent kingdoms came into existence in India. The British began to colonize India in the mid 18th century. So, this marked the beginning of the modern period in India. By the end of the 18th century, the British colonized large parts of India through wars and policies of treasury. Colonization gave the British complete control over India's rich resources. They adopted policies which affected every aspect of the lives of people of India. So these policies, however, did not have a uniform effect on the entire Indian society. While they brought benefits to small sections of the people, they brought misery to much larger numbers. So let us discuss the sources of writing history. When we talk of sources of writing history, the official records, the British maintained strict control over administration and had all administrative actions recorded in documents. So, as a result, all administrative offices from the local to the central level had record rooms where official documents such as letters, departmental records, survey reports, agreements, and notes were preserved. So, before printing came into wide use in the mid 19th century, documents were handwritten and specialists with good handwriting were in great demand. The later documents were printed, right? And those who were appointed to write things, and they're supposed to write it beautifully, and those um, document writers were called calligraphists, and as the meaning is given there, those who specialize in the art of beautiful writing. Now, the National Archives of India, Delhi 1920s. It is a record room where all the documents and letters from government and various administrators have been arranged as per the date from 18th century and are preserved in good conditions. Right? Now, conducting survey, if we talk of surveys, the British appointed surveyors to inspect and report on the relief and vegetation and the economic, social, religious, and cultural conditions in various regions of India. These reports helped the British to know about the regions they were to administer and help them figure out how to take advantage of the conditions. The surveys included archaeological surveys as well, and one of these surveys revealed the Indus Valley civilization. Now, what these official records do not tell, the records do not tell what other people in the country felt. Only diaries of people, travelers, autobiographies, and important personalities can tell about literate people. No record of history is available for tribals, peasants, workers, or the poor. Right? So, let us just discuss further the information actually that now just we mentioned no record of history is available for the tribals, peasants, workers, or the poor. So information can be derived from oral sources as well. For example, we know a lot about conditions of the common people, the women, and the tribal people of India under British rule from ballads, legends, folk songs, and so on, which are passed on orally. So these are the sources through which we come to know about the lives of tribals. So folk songs, the legends, ballads, right? These are the sources. However, like all historical source materials, these need to be cross checked and cross checked with other sources, right? And if we talk about the literary material, among the available literary material from the period of British rule, there are official documents such as administrative records, survey reports, official letters, right? And there are also unofficial documents such as personal letters, diaries, newspapers, reports, and works of literature. So, children, I hope things are clear to you. For any questions that come on your mind regarding the chapter, you can always ask. You're always most welcome to ask questions. So, thank you so much.